Hey, welcome to The Snap. I'm your host, Mack, joined as always by my co-host, Lando, and we're continuing our rookie series today with none other than Rashod Bateman, Minnesota Golden Gophers standout wide receiver. This guy is a favorite of both of ours, and so if you want a little bit of confirmation bias, you want a little bit of a hype piece on Rashod Bateman, you are in the right spot. If you're new to the channel, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing. We would much appreciate you being a part of our off-season content. Lando, what's going on, my man?
Man, I'm excited. We're talking about Rashod Bateman. I've got him pretty high in my rankings. I'm thinking he might land with the Green Bay Packers this year in the NFL draft, and that will skyrocket his value. But if you listen right now, I know, don't tease with you, right? If you want to see and determine who we analyze next, comment down below. Do you want to see standout tight end Kyle Pitts? Maybe a rookie like
We haven't done T-Law. We haven't done T-Law yet.
No, Trevor Lawrence. He's in here, 5-star recruit, no doubt. Or is he? Either way, I'm excited for Rashod Bateman. Let me give you some of his accolades because the list is great. He's the 2019 Richter Howard Receiver of the Year, 2019 First Team All Big Ten, 2019 Biletnikoff Award finalist, and lost to our number one overall rookie wide receiver, Jamar Chase. Check out our channel for that if you haven't seen that video yet.
Now, what I love about Rashod Bateman, is we're gonna get into his skill set. The schedule of this video is tell you a little bit about Rashod Bateman, maybe some things you didn't know, get through his college production, go through the film room, what we liked, his strengths, his weaknesses, maybe some player comps that we would have for him, and then finally where we rank him. And what I want to get into first about Rashod Bateman, he's a 21-year-old, 6'2", 210-pound receiver. He's that build that really just transcends itself to the next level. His skill set, I think, is going to translate. I think he's going to be effective. And when you look at a guy like Devonta Smith, who we've talked about at length, there are concerns with his size. He's a very undersized wide receiver, whereas Rashod Bateman might not have the same speed. We'll talk about that later, but I think he has the size, and I'm really, really happy about that. He did miss some time, though, Landon, and coming into 2020, he actually opted out, but he ended up playing 5 games. They only played a 7-game season. Tell everybody why Rashod Bateman missed some time.
Well, Rashod Bateman has asthma, and first off, I'm not concerned with that. He also actually contracted COVID-19. So with all that being said, he contracted the virus, he opted out because of his health, and he came back and put up almost 500 yards in 5 games and a couple touchdowns. I think that's an amazing feat. Like, this is somebody that balled out after opting out, not really wanting to play this season. And I don't blame him because he had a great freshman and sophomore season, and he would have been a high pick anyways in the NFL back. He elected to come back and had a great year.
Yeah, totally. And he also changed his number. He wanted to come back, make a statement. He's, pretty politically invested, and he's kind of thinking, social injustice, racism. He wants to make a statement. So his number changed from 13 to 0 is all about no tolerance policy for, racism and other things. So social injustice. So I commend him for that. That's awesome. We're going to have the nickname for him, Agent Zero. That is our nickname for Rashod Bateman, Agent Zero. I kind of like it on him. So,
I like it.
I like this kid, though, man. Like, watching a lot of interviews, really humble. I think a down-to-earth guy, someone that just strikes me as, I'm going to come into a program, I'm going to put my head down and work, and that's the kind of guy that you want. So you've brought up his 2021 season, 36 for 472 and 2 touchdowns, a 30.4% target share. And if you extrapolate that over 13 games, that is a 93 reception on 145 target pace, 1,227 yards, which is pretty similar to his 2019 campaign, which was really his breakout season.
And that's, Mac, what I want to see out of young wide receivers. Breaking out at the age of 18, coming into the year as a true freshman, and really putting out highlight reel plays, commanding 50 or 94 targets as a freshman and putting up over 700 yards. And he didn't have the most reliable quarterback. He was getting targets that were uncatchable. So if he just had a half decent quarterback with Minnesota with his freshman year, I mean, those numbers would have been outstanding. We would be talking about him as one of the all-time prospects, in my opinion.
Well, not to mention he was alongside Tyler Johnson in 2019, who pretty solid prospect for the Tampa Bay Bucks. So his 2019 campaign, Pro Football Focus said that only 75% of his targets were deemed catchable.
Wow.
When you look at the 90 targets he had and you take away a quarter of them, that only leaves 67 targets. He caught 60. So Rashod Bateman has been noted to have a higher drop rate than most higher-end wide receiver prospects. I take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. This is a guy that lost the Biletnikoff Award in 2019 to Jamar Chase. He had a fantastic season. And this is a guy who's had, about a 30% target share in his 3 years with the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Not a football, program that is highly notable, but his numbers speak for themselves. And I think when you look at the amount of volume that they have in it from a passing perspective, I mean, from bigger schools like Alabama, LSU, they are like 100 to 150 attempts less. They're under 350 attempts on the season. So Rashod Bateman has made a lot out of nothing here. And I think his skill set, which we'll talk about next into the film room, really do speak for themselves.
No doubt. If you could drop Rashod Bateman in any single offense. If you had Joe Burrow last year or Mac Jones this year, he would be setting records just like the guys that you know their names of. If you don't know Rashod Bateman, hopefully you know him now and take note.
Right. Tanner Morgan is not going to the league. I don't think.
I mean, he might get drafted. I don't know. It might be like a Kyle Rudolph situation. But either way, film room, jumping in on film. This is where he really makes his hay. Because he's got for being a 6'2", 210-pound guy, he plays even bigger than that. You would think he's that 6'4", maybe Mike Evans type, because he's got a big catch radius, and he catches the ball outside his body. He doesn't let the ball come in, and that's where receivers double clutch. They drop the ball, it bounces off their chest, and it just doesn't work out. Where he really catches with his hands. He's got some of the best hands in the league. When he's not having a good game, he relies on his hands. He's a very sure-handed receiver, and that's what I love to see with these young guys. A very confident catcher of the football. I mean, that's what it comes down to in the end for me.
Yeah. Well, it feels very natural for him too. I mean, one thing that I like to see is when a receiver in college can catch the ball with momentum, like through stride, and really carry that forward to try to break away from defenders. He does that so naturally. It really does come easy. And when we look at wide receiver prospects, we're looking for a couple things. Catchability, especially on the run. We're looking for route running, the ability to create separation, and contested catch rate. And his contested catch rate is one of the best in college football, 63.2%. In his time at Minnesota. So this is a guy who can high point the ball, who can use his athleticism to go up and get that ball. And that's something that I really, really like. His body control is about as good as it gets. And really, when you look at his skill set, I mean, his footwork, his release, his hands, his route running, like he's just very textbook, very fundamental, I would call him, and really impressive across the board.
My last really great thing I watched when I looked at film was, he's been great ever since his freshman year, but I really saw an improvement from his sophomore to junior season. He looked more like a man. He looked like he's willing to make a difference in what I want to see in a prototypical number one prospect. I thought he looked great. He was very sure-handed. He sometimes put his shoulder down, but not as often as I would have liked to see. I want him to really get those yards after catch, like we want to see in an AJ Brown type, in a DJ Moore type, the guys that really break tackles and get yards after catch. That's not really his forte, but I think it could be if he just had some more training in the NFL.
Totally. And look, Agent Zero has some flaws too. He's not perfect. Much like Landon said, maybe sometimes being hesitant to drop that shoulder and go through defenders instead of trying to dance around them like an Odell Beckham Jr. I also think that he lacks some breakaway speed. And look, you don't have to be Tyreek Hill in the NFL game to be successful. There are tons of receivers in the league that aren't overly productive yards after catch, but are great receivers. Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Michael Thomas, for example. These aren't guys that are going to burn you down the field, but you know when the ball comes their way, they're going to secure it. And I think that's exactly what Rashod Bateman is. I know I just gave away some player comps, but we'll talk about that right now. So my player comp for Rashod Bateman is Keenan Allen. I think this is a guy who has tremendous ball skills, is about the same height, so like size and weight, and yeah, just not a guy that's going to burn you, but very, very sure-handed, very versatile, can work all areas of the field, and a guy that's really good on slants, on posts, on 9 routes. The only thing that I would say that he's not so good at are those dig and out routes. He's sometimes a little bit sloppy. Sometimes he drifts a little bit too far upfield. But those are things that can be refined at the next level. So I do see a lot of Keenan Allen in Rashod Bateman.
And I am comparing Rashod Bateman to Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is right around the same weight. He's around 212, 6'3", so an inch taller. But they work from the slot and their hands are great, very sure-handed. So if Rashod Bateman lands on a perfect scenario like the Green Bay Packers, or with even a Matt Ryan or a Matt Stafford, a place that really gives you the ball where you need it, like Michael Thomas did, I think this is totally in his realm of outcomes. Michael Thomas only ran a 4.57. He's not the fastest receiver. That's not where he makes his hay. And this is kind of what I'm seeing with Rashod Bateman. He's not that burner. He's not the DK Metcalf. He's not that kind of receiver, but he can do everything and do everything well and separate at the high. I believe he will separate at the highest level of play.
Probably runs like a mid 4.4. That would be my guess.
I'm hoping so. So he could be faster than Michael Thomas, which is awesome. That's what we want to see.
But it's also going to be pro days and, manually calculated. So there's probably going to be some funky numbers. But regardless, the big question here, you guys have been patient. Where do we have Rashod Bateman in our 2021 rookie rankings at the wide receiver position? I have him at number 2. Number two, behind Jamar Chase, far ahead of Devonta Smith. I know he's a little bit closer for Landon, but I think Rashod Bateman, the value is there. And from a fantasy football perspective, I don't want to pay up what I'm going to need to pay in order to get a guy like Devonta Smith when I have what I think is a better prospect, a game that will translate to the NFL a lot better, and I don't have to spend the capital. So I think Rashod Bateman will be excellent for you. The value is there. And like Landon said, if he lands at the end of the first round, he's going to find himself on a Green Bay Packer type offense where he can be, impactful right away. Yeah. I think this is great for fantasy. I think Rashod Bateman is probably one of the most slept on wide receivers in this class, and he is my number 2 this year. I'm really, really excited for Bateman.
He's not slept on anymore, Mac, because everyone watching this is going to take him early. I'm willing to take him in the top 5 of my Dynasty drafts. And yeah, I've got him at number 2 as well. No question. He is going to be a guy that's going to be consistent for my fantasy teams, that prototypical number 1, the kind of guy that you're willing to take, kind of wait on and make sure he's going to be there. The guy that you can build your fantasy team around because he's that talented of a prospect. I just hope he lands in a good spot.
Well, listen, if you guys liked what you heard today, you like some of the takes, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, as well as let us know in the comments below, where do you have Rashod Bateman ranked in your 2021 rookie rankings? Are you high like Landon and I at number 2, or are you sleeping on him a little bit at like 6, 7, 8? I've seen him as low as 9. I think that's crazy, but we might be off base. So let us know. Get us on social media at @snap_fantasy, and we'll see you guys in the next rookie profile video.